There's actually a really weird incentive to not tell people the truth.
He was homeless at 15.
What's your dream?
Millionaire by the time he was 40.
Have you got a dream?
Started nearly 20 businesses.
What's your dream?
I got a delivery this morning for my food. Ocado driver, he's going to lose his job. You know why no one's telling him? They want him to deliver the food right up until the robots replace him. Henry Ford did the minimum wage. Everyone praises him with the minimum wage. He only did it so everyone could afford a car.
You can't teach gut feel and emotional intelligence. Business school wants to take that out of you because they want to pretend to you that we can teach you this.
I think people listening need to understand that whatever they're told at school is their weakness is probably their strength.
Welcome to Box Seat Heroes. I'm Roger Wade, chairman of Box Fund VC. Box Seat Heroes is a podcast where I get to meet some of my heroes from the industry. I'm really proud to introduce my next guest, Simon Squibb. Is it Squibb?
Squibb,
right,
when I was a kid and people teased me, it was Squid.
All right.
But Squibb is technically it. I'm still getting used to that surname myself. So.
Well, Simon, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I've spent the past 24 hours listening to your voice, you know, on my headphones.
Doesn't sound too creepy. It sounds a bit creepy.
I had you on 1.5 speed,
right?
Because it was
the audio book you're talking about.
The audio book on Spotify. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And
you have to say that because I'm sitting right here.
What's your dream?
You might be like,
I'm quite outspoken, so I would just sort of not say anything.
Right.
But if I genuinely really enjoyed the book, and I didn't think I would. I thought, it sounds like another self-help book. Frankly, I thought it sounded like a bit cheesy, but it wasn't. It was some really good advice, and that's coming from an entrepreneur that sort of, built it from the past 35 years. It was a really interesting listen, and I actually really liked your narration of it because it wasn't written by ChatGPT. It was written by yourself, and you could tell that. And I thought, wow, yeah, this is good.
Coming from an entrepreneur like yourself, that means a lot to me because I think entrepreneurship is a complicated game, and we've all got something to learn all the time. But when I think about what you've accomplished, the fact that you got some value from it, that makes me very happy. It was worth the 2 years of writing it, just hearing that.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to be picking your brains because there's some elements of it that I like to chat to you about with myself. But look, let's just go back a little bit and just talk about your life from where the book starts, from being made homeless because you fell out with your mum when you were younger to becoming a best-selling author. Let's talk about you and your personal journey and what early life was like and how you got to where you currently are.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I wouldn't be a best-selling author if I hadn't had the difficult stage of my life at 15. So the pain is how you find purpose. And so, I always feel everyone's probably heard this story already, but I had a very difficult thing happen at 15 years old. My father suddenly died of a heart attack.
Sorry to hear that.
He died in front of me.
Yeah, you said that in the book.
And I, even to this day, I can remember it literally like it was yesterday. And even today, I sometimes can't believe he's actually gone. It's the first experience I'd ever had with death. So someone's there and then they're not. It's just so crazy. And and then through a series of circumstances had a disagreement with my mum, and we had this massive argument not long after my father died, and she told me to get out.
Yeah.
And I took her at her word and I never went back.
And this was 15.
15 years old, left home, left school at the same time, no choice, and had the craziest next 35 years.
Lived in a fire escape.
Begged on the street, learned how kind homeless people are, realised that the poorest people amongst us are sometimes the nicest, wanting to support. They know what it's like to be down and out. Had friends let me sleep on their couches until it got awkward. Had situations where people that I thought would help me didn't, people that I didn't think would help me did. And I often describe that time as the hardest time in my life, but also the most magical thing happened. I woke my brain up. I hate the analogy these days, the Matrix, but it was like that. I came out of the system, literally came out of the system. I came out of my parental management system. I came out of the school education system, both of which were partly designed for me to make the school proud and make my parents proud, but it wasn't what I wanted or who I was, but I didn't know it till I left the system. So it's literally like, I feel like I woke up the day I hit the street.
Wow.
Saw the real world, which was scary, horrific,
Yeah.
unbelievably mad. People taking drugs in front of me, people overdosing, people getting blind drunk to cover up the pain of their lives. None of this stuff I'd seen before. All the way to the beautifulness of people just giving you their half a sandwich, knowing that that's all they've got, but they'll give it to you. People like giving you their blanket because they're freezing cold, but they know you're not used to it, so they give you their blanket. Just the kindest, nicest experiences, all in one major, crazy 8-week process.
It's amazing when you have the benefit of hindsight and you can sort of go to yourself, actually, that hardship helped create me.
Yeah.
Because everything from there on, nothing could have been as bad as that. Being 15 years old, being by yourself, God knows how scary that was. But tell us, how did you sort of, well, I hate to use the word crawl out of that, but how did you become the Simon we see in front of us today? What was that journey?
Well, I think, first of all, there is a element, I always try to describe this thing to people as like, I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I needed to be an entrepreneur. I didn't really know what entrepreneurship was. It's a very prevalent word now. Everyone throws it around. But actually back then, it was like a guy who couldn't get a job.
Branson,
That's what I mean.
Alan Sugar.
Yeah, you're basically a person who couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
And the smart people were going to university and getting a job. So it was not glamorous. People looked down on you. And, when I moved to Hong Kong, which we can talk about later, I remember telling people, well, I'm an entrepreneur. And they literally looked down on you. It's not what it is now. It was like, you can't get a job at a bank.
Now everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, don't they?
Yeah, but I think
being a footballer.
Totally. But back then, it was what it is, which is a crazy journey, a crazy experience. And I think it's one that everyone should experience at least once in their life. But I didn't want it. I didn't know what it was. I was supposed to be a lawyer. I remember at 13 years old, someone asking me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a lawyer.
Is that what you wanted? Is that what your mum and dad wanted?
Well, first of all, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
So being
that
a
might
lawyer
have been tough.
Would have been tough, but there's plenty of lawyers that are dyslexic. I had the ability to communicate from a young age, so there was some core skill there, I guess, that symbolizes a lawyer that you see on TV. Yeah. But that's what my parents wanted for me, and that's what the school quite liked me saying. And that would certainly lead me to going to university and paying into the system for a long time and so on.
Did you go to a good school?
No.
Were your parents well off?
I went to a really bad school.
Okay.
And I mean it with respect, because a lot of people that will be listening to this podcast would have went to the same school as me. I went to a school called Long Sands in St Neots. It is an awful school.
Outside Cambridge, is that right?
It's outside Cambridge in a small town. And it was, I look back, I realised that when you're at school, when you're a kid, you don't know what's good and what's bad. But this school was full of bullies, and it was full of grades are the only thing that matter. And if you weren't getting A's, you were stupid. And if you were getting D's, you were ostracized and put into special classes, because the school doesn't want you to get D's because it's not good for the school. Without getting into it, schools used to be designed, the exams were designed to make sure the school was performing, but they've turned it on the kids, and it turned on me. I wasn't considered smart. In fact, the teacher told me at 13 years old, I am stupid, and it really stuck with me, because these are your peers, right? The teacher tells you you're stupid. I thought I was stupid. They put me into a special ed class, and just by the name special ed, I thought I was inferior. And it turns out I'm not. But the school didn't believe in me. The school, and I would say I was an average student. Apart from having dyslexia, I did pretty well in sports. I was well behaved. I attended. I paid attention. I really tried to learn, even though dyslexia stopped me reading the blackboard a lot of the time. But I really tried. But I feel like the school system just didn't want to give me any sort of support. It just wanted me to perform for the school, and I didn't. So I wasn't really an achiever at school.
But sometimes sort of dyslexia or having sort of been on the spectrum can almost be a superpower.
Oh, later it is.
I mean,
you don't know when you're younger.
Elon Musk,
Totally.
I mean, he's definitely on the spectrum.
He's very unpopular now, Elon Musk, sadly. But I actually think it's really crazy. The thing I always think about, and I'm sure you're the same. What's your superpower, by the way? What do you think your superpower is?
Persistence. I think it's amazing, Simon, because I was really genuinely really looking forward to meeting you today, and there's so many parallels between our lives. And like when you was mentioning their school, my parents wanted me to be my mum wanted me a doctor. My mum came back from Malaysia as a single parent. She was Irish. My dad was Malaysian. She did remarry. I had a stepdad. She wanted me to be a doctor. I had a very bad accident at the age of 17. I was a sort of victim of assault, nearly died. A knife crime. It wasn't a knife, actually, it was a bottle. But anyway, I sort of messed up my exams, went to university, really didn't do well at university. But actually, it was really weird. I did do well at university because I did what I wanted to do, which was run clubs, not what I was meant to do, was environmental science. My first 3 jobs out of university, I got the sack. So all of these things, I was bullied at school. And to be frank with you, I always was looking to bolster my ego and to actually be able to say I was good at something. And I went to that classic all boys grammar school, rugby, cricket. And I was good at cricket and I was decent at rugby and I was a decent student, but I wasn't the best. I wasn't really great at anything. And my first business that I had to set up because I would have got the sack, it was the first time anyone sort of really went, there's Roger, he runs that business. And you're dead right. It was a time in which entrepreneurship wasn't a big thing and I had to do it because I had no choice. And I was almost proving myself. Was that the same with you? Was there a sense
I think it's really healthy. It's a really good message to put out there because I think a lot of people listening to this podcast will be average. They'll see themselves as average. They're not brilliant at anything yet. I think you say perseverance. I think it's just clarity of you've got to put your heart into something. You've got to actually focus on something. No one's naturally good at anything. Even Tiger Woods had to practice. He had to practice every day and follow through. And so, I think people listening need to understand that whatever they're told at school is their weakness is probably their strength. So, if again, for me, like I couldn't read. So in the classroom, I was told to read a book out loud and I couldn't, but I was told to. So I did it and everyone laughed at me. And then I remember the teacher saying, right, everyone's got to study Jane Eyre and you've got to write an essay on it. So this was a nightmare for me. I had to read a book in 3 days and then write an essay on it. So I couldn't do it. So what did I do instead? I interviewed every single person in my class who had read Jane Eyre and I asked them for their opinion of it.
Wow.
So I ended up having 29 versions of Jane Eyre. So I got 29 versions. I didn't have to read it and have my own version. But I think if I hadn't had that problem of not being able to read it, my brain wouldn't have thought of a different way of dealing with the problem. And so ironically, I got an A.
Wow.
Even though I hadn't read Jane Eyre.
Should.
Even to this day, I haven't read Jane Eyre.
Wow. But it's weird, isn't it? Because, we're from a bit of a different generation. You're younger than me. You're 51. I'm 59. And our role models in terms of entrepreneurs, let's look at people like Richard Branson. He was dyslexic. He had a criminal record.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Very early.
I'm working with him today. No one told me he's got a criminal record. We're partners on the Doorbell Dreams.
Okay.
He never mentioned his criminal record. I will be bringing this up with him.
Bring that up with
By the
him.
way, I actually think it's not wrong with having a criminal record. There's a whole story around that.
I think it was out of need. He pretended to ask him yourself. It's in his book, actually. He pretended to export records and then he brought them back in and then did VAT, reclaimed the VAT. Which is,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's white collar crime.
White collar crime.
I shouldn't be encouraging it, but it was quite ingenious. If you look at someone like Alan Sugar, he's not the most vertically challenged person in the room. So he's got a bit of a chip.
I don't like this image of entrepreneurship, though. I think entrepreneurship should be doing things right now. But it's interesting, these stories.
But the point I'm really trying to get to, and even you look at Steve Jobs, adopted, or Elon Musk, bullied.
They come from pain.
They come from pain. And I think it's not so much pain. I think that they needed to prove themselves. And I think that's been a driving factor.
I think it's healthy.
I think, it's all right. It wasn't.
I
think
like
if I had everything, I don't think I would have achieved anything. And I think those experiences really drive me. Do you think that's what shaped you?
Well, it definitely shaped me. I mean, I had no choice in the early days. If I'd had choices, there's no way I would have become a gardener.
Yeah.
15 years old, my dream was not to be a gardener. I don't want to be out there.
Actually.
It isn't, but I mean, again, like you're kind of taught when I was 15, it's even a bit like now, a good job is working in a bank. A good job is like indoors, sitting at a computer, like and having a suit on. That's a good job. Now no suits, but like being in an office. I think sitting in the garden, weeding was not seen as intellectual, or and certainly even for me, if I look back, that was not an intellectual business for me.
Do you think like that now?
Do you know what? I guess
if you could be a gardener or banker.
Well, I care more about what is the purpose of what I'm doing more than what I'm doing. So I have definitely, I will clean shit up if it meant it would fix the education system.
Yeah.
I clean the shit off this carpet right now if it fixed the education system. I don't really care what I have to do for the goal. I care about the goal. So if you said, Simon,
stronger than me,
I can make the education system get updated. Financial literacy will be taught. Everyone will be given the chance to learn sales, entrepreneurship, how to make money from their head. Simon will make it all happen. All you have to do is clean this shitty carpet every day for 3 years. I'll do it.
See, yeah, I admire that, because sometimes sometimes when I come against those hurdles, I just go, I just don't need this really. But look, let me, I want to get to that issue, because and we'll get back to schools and your thoughts about universities and your thoughts about entrepreneurship, which I know you've got really strong beliefs on, many of which I share. But I just want for our viewers out there to understand Simon growing up. Okay, so he's homeless at 15. How did Simon get to where he is now? Tell us about some of your milestones along the way.
Yeah, I think there's a few key moments. I think that realization when I left home, I followed what the system told me to do. So that the first thing I did is I went to social services and said, I am homeless, please help me. And they told me to go away. Because I think there's a couple of reasons. First of all, I looked 18, 19. I didn't look 15. I'm a man. I'm a healthy man. And I think that I remember the lady behind the thick glass at social services said, we have 3 women who have kids that don't have a home to sleep in tonight. Why are you priority?
Because you're 15.
Yeah, but I think the system at that time, and I think it's similar now, by the way, a lot of people,
got worse.
They fall through the cracks. And there's not, and even for me, I remember hearing that there's 3 women who have babies that don't have somewhere to sleep. That is more important than me. I remember thinking that at the time. Now, of course, I could say, well, the system shouldn't even let that happen. There shouldn't be 3 people with babies with no home tonight. I shouldn't have nowhere to sleep tonight. But I remember thinking I kind of get her point. And so, and she said, just go home, which I couldn't. I was being mentally abused at home. So, I mean, I couldn't go home. That's hard to explain, for a lot of people who maybe get on with their parents. It's they wouldn't understand what I'm talking about.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I've always found that hard to explain to people. And I think then, the whole, okay, what's the next step? If social services can't help you, then I'll get a job. But then I tried to get a job, and
you're 15.
I'm 15, so I don't have a national insurance number.
Wow.
So on the application form, it's name, national insurance number. Don't have that. And then I had no address. Can't fill that out. So literally, I can't even hand in a form.
Which is the homelessness problem that we have nowadays.
And it still exists.
Don't have address.
People, all this rubbish bank ads I see where they say they've solved this problem. Rubbish. It hasn't been solved. It's still a problem.
It's so weird that you mention this. And I hope you don't mind if I sort of draw my own parallels. My sister actually worked in social services. And when I was younger, I used to work in youth centres. And what really annoys me nowadays is people go on about knife crime, okay? Almost as though knives have just been invented, okay? Mm-hmm. Knives haven't just been invented. The root cause of knife crime is when we were growing up, we had things like the Inner London Education Authority. I grew up in London. And if you came from a single parent or both your parents working, you had after school care. You used to go to play centres, or if you were in primary school, or you used to go to youth centres if you were in secondary school. And there was proper care. So I was teaching, I went to it, and I later on worked in play centres. That doesn't exist now.
Yeah, how have we gone backwards?
Well,
we're in 2025. I feel like we've gone backwards.
Totally.
There was youth clubs when I was young too.
Yeah. Well, and as a result of that, we've lost a lot of youth clubs. We've lost a lot of play centres, and we're wondering why there's a rise in antisocial behaviour and why we got knife crime. That is the cause. There isn't just there's a cause and an effect. Yeah. The cause was the getting rid of taking care of kids. So if you're growing up in Thornton Heath, and that's an issue I know a bit about because we built a development in Croydon, where you could go to a play centre before. No, you're out in the streets, and the only people you see that are drug dealers, and suddenly you become prey to them, and suddenly you're part of a gang, and the next minute you're stabbing another 12-year-old kid. That is the problem. But for some reason, we don't talk about those problems. And there's
Almost
loads of examples of that.
kind of blaming it on kids. I mean, the amount of times I'm getting so sick of hearing this. Kids are lazy, kids are this, kids are that. It's not true. They're
bullshit.
not. It's total bullshit. And I think that this is why I get really upset about the education system.
Or it's a black issue, or, you know, which is what they want to really say it is. It isn't. It's a social issue as a result of the fact that I definitely know in places like Lewisham, Fortenheath, there's a lot of single mums that are black, and they're working in jobs like, and I'm not generalizing, just they're working in example jobs like working in hospitals, and the kids don't have anywhere to go.
Yep.
And that's why they're turning to knife crime. And it's our fault. We don't want to accept it, but it is our fault.
Well, I mean, on top of the social dynamics you're talking about there with family structures, the other problem is, if you look at how the school system works, and I've spent a lot of time studying this, the school, let's say, for example, 15% of kids have dyslexia or some sort of ADHD, some sort of unique learning skill. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
And people call it a problem. I call it a superpower, like you do. But
like Elon Musk.
Exactly. But you look at prisons, 50% of prisoners are dyslexic. So you can begin to see a direct correlation. If you're in a classroom and you're told that you're getting a D and an E, therefore you're an idiot, you are now giving up on maybe getting a job or going down that path that society accepts as like, well, you don't want a criminal record. You don't want to get into crime because you've got a career ahead of you. You've got a future, So the school system tells you you're stupid because the school system doesn't adapt the education system for the kids. It makes you fit the kids in the system. Those kids end up, and I could have been one of these kids, so I know. I remember this whole moment where the teacher told me I was stupid. You almost have no hope. You think, well, okay, I don't feel like I'm stupid, but maybe stupid people don't know they're stupid. The stupid people don't know they're stupid. So maybe I'm thinking, okay, I don't know that I'm stupid. I am actually stupid.
Or if they're told they're stupid, they start to believe that, and then they start to act stupid.
Well, this is what I mean. Then you might as well be disruptive in class. And then then how can you make money? Because everybody gets drawn into how can I make money? And if someone says to you, hey man, I don't think you're stupid, come and be a drug dealer with me and I'll help you make money. Okay, someone believes in you, and that's where this also happens. You basically, the system right now, the education system is it's like the white elephant in the room. We all know it, but nothing's happening. The kids are being left to feel like they're useless. Like they can't own a home. It's going to be too expensive to own a home. Most of them are being taught in a way that makes them feel like if they're not in the top 10% getting A's, that they're stupid and they've got to practice on things they don't like doing. So I was speaking to a kid the other day. He loves football. He absolutely loves football and he's really good at it. Could be a professional player, but he's been told by his school and by his parents that he's not very good at biology. So he's got to spend getting private tuition getting biology lessons. So instead of being out there playing football, doing the thing he's naturally good at, that he could get better and better at, he's being pulled into, well, you're not good at this, so you've got to have private lessons, you can't go play football, you've got to get good at biology because your grades are bad. What a joke.
It's like you writing your essay in Jane Eyre.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah, my way of doing it worked.
Yeah, totally.
But I actually think my that's followed through my whole life. I can have an opinion on things, but I prefer to get 29 people's other opinion before I have my own because I have a broad understanding of the world. It's helped me a lot.
It's so weird. You remind me of talking to Rory Sutherland because I started a script and we couldn't stick to it. We just wanted to go off. But what is strange is like when I went to secondary school. And I was lucky enough to go to a good grammar school. At the age of 12, my year was the first year where half the school was comprehensive or streamed. They call it streaming now. And the other half the school was apparently grammar. And I'll be frank, literally at the age of 12, they used to go, that's the thick class, that's the middle class, and that's the little bit smarter class. And it was so unfair because it was based on these ridiculous exams at the age of 11, isn't it? And it's the way we stigmatize people. But something I want to ask you, and this was almost meant to be getting to this point at the end. I'm so frustrated now as an entrepreneur, and I'm in a fortunate position like yourself that I guess I've got fuck you money, right? I can do what I want. I only do this because I enjoy it. I'm going to stop if I don't enjoy it. I only do my business because I enjoy it, and I want to leave a life of purpose, which I know is what you passionately believe in as well. And I've just forgotten that question,
It'll come to you. I think I know where you were going.
Yeah. So Yeah. So the point I'm really trying is, doesn't it frustrate you that guys like us, entrepreneurs, are having to step into the realm of political leadership when we don't want to? I want to talk about entrepreneurship my whole time. I don't want to talk about schools. I don't want to talk about youth services. I don't want to talk about knife crime. I certainly don't want to talk about Gaza, but I feel as though I have to talk about them because our leaders nowadays don't talk about them. And it really frustrates the hell out of me. Does it frustrate you?
I know what you mean. Yes, I don't want to be political. I don't like politics.
I don't want to be.
Politics are very divisive. It's, my idea versus your idea, red versus blue. I hate it.
Or Brexit.
I hate it. The whole thing just upsets me. But unfortunately, the leadership, the system we have now. See, I grew up thinking democracy was the best thing ever. I really believed it. I'm not so sure
it is now.
But that's what I'm getting to. I grew up thinking, one vote, I can make a difference. It's so full of shit. It is so full of shit. The problem is that we see problems and they become political footballs, negotiating points. And most politicians now are just trying to line their own pockets.
Well, they just want to get voted in. They want to be populist.
Exactly. I mean, again, I'm even scared to say his name to give him any more fame, but Boris Johnson did not believe in Brexit. He did not believe in Brexit at all.
He wrote 2 letters.
Yeah, he did not believe in it. He knew it wasn't good for this country, and he just wanted to get on the side of those populists who would get him eventually voted into number 10. All he wanted was a picture on the wall at number 10.
Let's be frank, Boris is a cunt.
Yeah, he's a cunt.
That's it.
But the thing is, and I'd say it to his face.
I would.
And I think that really upsets me is that he created a very good marketeer, used his powers to divide a country,
take back control,
which is the opposite.
Control.
We never. Well, frankly, we haven't got control now.
Well,
it's a parliamentary democracy.
Net immigration numbers actually quadruple post Brexit.
Yeah, I mean, if we get into Brexit, we're going to be all day.
I know we won't.
But the symbolism of it for me is, we have to understand that certain people are making policies that aren't there to help people. He just wanted to be at number 10. He wanted to have his picture on the wall. That's his whole motive. So he didn't care about Brexit. He doesn't care about anything but that. And I think we need to highlight this to people. I feel like it's another
What's
education.
Happening again? Let's be absolutely frank.
What's happening again? Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage is, we're firstly forgetting he's the guy that brought in Brexit. And look at all the economic damage that's created. I mean, we've been both in business. We've worked abroad. We know how strong Britain was as part of Europe. We've seen the damage that it's done. And Nigel Farage is trying to pretend, this wasn't the Brexit that I wanted.
Yeah.
He's the architect of it all. All the problems that this country is currently facing at the moment, I largely put at his feet at the moment.
Well, he's I called it clever. I think in the end he'll get his.
It's just populist.
Again, this is nothing new. If you look at the downfall of every major popular society, Egypt or even the British Empire, it always goes this way. At the end, it's always a left versus right issue. Is it tax the rich or blame the poor?
Yeah,
and
I think blame the immigrant.
Well, exactly, blame the immigrant. It's just dumb. It's just dumb because the reality is it's much more nuanced than that. And again, like you say, now you and I could sit here now and have a talk about politics. And the problem is, the thing I really hate about politicians, I don't want to repeat, is they'll present all the problems and then their solutions are half-assed, badly organised, and often don't work. So my idea
led by the pollsters.
Well, that's exactly right. Because what? Before I started what I'm doing now, so 6 years ago now, I sold my company. I moved back to England when Brexit happened. I thought, what's happened to my country? I need to go back and see, touch base, figure out how I can help. And I came back to this country thinking maybe I'll get into politics and try to solve this divide, because I was hearing all this rhetoric about blaming immigrants. And, my brother is from Peterborough. Peterborough was one of the highest voters of Brexit. So I speak to my brother and I say, why is everyone in Peterborough voting for Brexit? It's like, well, the foreigners are taking my jobs. And when you actually look at it, these foreigners are not taking jobs that anyone wants.
They're doing the jobs that we don't want to do.
And secondly, it's not even true. It's not even true.
But it doesn't matter whether it's true, as long as it's populist.
But this is what I'm saying. So I think that there needs, I actually think entrepreneurs have a lot to bring to the table when it comes to politics, because entrepreneurs at their core, and I think everyone can become an entrepreneur, we're able to do 2 things. We can think of an idea and make it real, first of all, and that everyone can learn this, by the way. This is a skill that can be learned. You make an idea and make it real. The second thing is we're able to solve problems. most entrepreneurial businesses solved some sort of problem. So if you tell me, right, Simon, we got a pothole problem in Britain. If I got 300 entrepreneurs around the table, we'd solve it within a week. And actually, I did this as a little social experiment. So I got.
You'd probably solve it at one, to be honest.
Well, probably. So there's basically I know this to be a fact. If I go and do a video right now on TikTok about me filling in a pothole, that video will probably make £700-800, and I can take that £700-800 and I can use that money to fill in another pothole. So literally, just filling in potholes on TikTok, I could pay to fill in all the potholes.
Did you know with potholes that if somebody gets if they get a flat tire, they can blame it on that pothole and they can claim against the council's insurance.
Right.
I mean, I can name 3 things right now that I would do to improve potholes, and that's just coming from the top of my head. Number 1, let's stop having short-termism. Let's build roads that last a bit longer.
The local council authority that was responsible for building that road got best price wins policy. So the cheapest price wins. So what do people do to get the price down? They reduce the quality of what they're producing. So instead of
it's cause and effect again. It's going back to social services. If you build a shit road in the first place, you're going to be repairing potholes, and it's going to cost you more money.
Yeah.
Build a really good road, have a proper pothole repairing, structure.
Well, frankly, we could come up with a device that just goes around fixing potholes and make it automated. Again, like we're probably getting into too many roads here. People are listening, thinking, "How are we going to keep talking about roads? How long?"
That's all right.
But I think this little chat here. What I've seen, entrepreneurs can fix problems, but the government. They don't fix problems. What they do is they take all this money they make and they go around in circles because they're scared to make decisions and they aren't entrepreneurs. And as much as people say to me all the time, I get a lot of hate, trying to make everyone entrepreneur. No, I'm trying to make everyone have entrepreneur thinking. Because I go out into the street where you live here now, there'll be potholes that I could fix. Yeah. I could fix them today with my TikTok account.
Do you want me to tell you a story about M25? Actually?
Oh, we're going back to M25.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. Right. It's still a motorway. It's still a pothole. Yeah. It's still relevant.
Small back road, as America's called.
My mate, his name is Terence. I won't give you the surname. At the age of 20, he got the subcontract to lay pipes on the M25. Okay, he's now 55. He's doing the same job, and he's earned a fortune. And the ridiculous thing is, all he does is dig up the holes that he replaced last year and puts in another trunk, rather than, why didn't you at the very beginning build proper infrastructure that all you had to do was feed everyone's pipes in and everyone could share them?
But you know why?
Because they wouldn't share them.
But you know why? And this is where I've fallen out of love with democracy, which doesn't make me a communist, just to be clear. Yeah.
Or socialist is the word.
Socialist is another one. I start talking about the housing problem. People really hate me for that too. But, because I think this whole buy to rent thing is out of control. And a nurse can't afford to rent, a nurse can't afford to buy, and we can't afford to pay a nurse more. But we want them to save our life if we go to the emergency site. So
pay them a fair wage.
Or frankly, give them accommodation. Give basic needs.
Why are we paying $1.5 million to get trained to become doctors, and immediately they get training, they go to Australia and get double the pay?
Well, this is it. But the problem is we're thinking short term within the election cycle. So, Labour come in, there's conflict inside the political system. They've got 2 years where they can make decisions before they spend 2 years trying to get re-elected. This trying to get elected thing, I mean, Churchill didn't win the election after the war. And the reason he didn't win the election after the war is because he made decisions that are unpopular that meant that we didn't
He was a great wartime prime minister.
By the way, people are going to hate us even.
I
was going to say people are even going to say that even being nice about Winston Churchill is going to get us into trouble in the comments now.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get to is I think
he had some great traits and he had some weaknesses.
I spent a lot of time traveling around the world. I spent 20 years living in Hong Kong, which is was ruled by the British, and it got handed over to the Chinese when I was living there. And so I really got to understand Chinese culture. And one of the things I really admire is they have 50-year plans. They don't think in this 2-year get elected cycle.
Well, it's like the way they looked at Trump. They would just go, he's a mere blip. I'm half Chinese, half Irish.
Right.
It's crazy because we're building up this anti-Chinese rhetoric. But
stupid.
China has not invaded another country in the past 40 years, but yet America has been involved in a dozen wars. And they want us to believe that China is the enemy.
Well, you see,
it isn't the enemy. China only cares about one thing: creating wealth. If you understand Hong Kong, you understand Chinese people. They're not interested in invading people. They're just interested in protecting what they've got and creating wealth. You can believe all the rubbish that you want to believe, but trust me, it's absolute rubbish.
Well, I think generally human beings don't want to invade countries. It's governments that want to invade countries. It's political ideology that wants to invade countries.
I've just got a simple belief, which is treat people as you expect to be treated, irrespective of their race, their religion, their sex, or their sexual inclination.
Good way to live that.
It just doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't matter.
I don't look at colour, I don't look at age, I don't look at sex, I don't look at race. And when I find myself getting indoctrinated, as clearly as happening in this country with Islamophobia, which is absolutely rampant, you know, it's almost as though, you know, a Palestinian's life is not worth we won't even go there now, you know.
Human life is a human life. Again, that's why anyone listening, I would say, please go live overseas in countries that you think are bad. You know, go spend some time in North Korea. Like, go see the people, and you'll realize they eat 3 meals a day if they can. They love their kids. They all want a better life for their family and themselves. That's it. Everyone's the same. Breathing oxygen. We have more in common than separates us.
Or let's look at an example like Vietnam. I was luckily in Vietnam a few years ago, and you had America deliberately interfering in Vietnam against the so-called domino effect of communism. And actually all they were doing was trying to protect themselves, to stop being invaded by actually having an autocratic leader in South Vietnam taking over North Vietnam. And they just fought for themselves, okay? And all right, they won, great. But actually, you go back to Vietnam and they're beautiful people, they're absolutely lovely. And you might call them a communist society, but actually they seem to be really happy. People might call China a communist society. Trust me, as somebody that spent nearly 10, 20 years working out of China and Hong Kong, it's the most capitalist culture I've ever been to in my life. You know, when I first went there, I don't know with yourself, it was either Mercedes-Benz or bicycles. Now it's all electric cars.
Well, one of the things I get a lot of hate for saying this, I think everyone should be rich. And people that don't get this concept, kind of like, well, if everyone's rich, then how can there be, you know, how everyone will be able to afford everything, inflation will go up. No, it's not true. And the reason I know this fact that everyone should get rich is a good idea is because I watched from 1997 when I moved to Hong Kong to 2016 when I left and moved back to England, 400 million people had come out of poverty into middle class. And I promise you that's the reason we're not in a war today with China. Is that middle class doesn't want a war. They've got a good life.
They've got a fantastic life. So they're not concerned.
No, I think
they're not concerned really about Taiwan, even though that used to be part of China. It's only when America embarrasses them that they actually are concerned.
Yeah, there's a face thing, but that's true in America too. America doesn't like it being insulted. It doesn't like its flag being burnt. It doesn't like being threatened. No one likes any of these things.
Doesn't want to be a joint superpower, which is what he recently said. I think there was an interview that happened between the Chinese general and the American general. And the American general was asked, would you like to live in a world in which you and China were the joint superpowers? And he went, never. And the Chinese general said, yeah, fine with me. But that just goes to show it's an obsession with being the powerful leader. Anyway, I've got to take this back.
Well, yeah, because we've started a political podcast here. I think we've accidentally started a political podcast,
which you know. Doing. And actually, do you know what? I wake up every day and I don't think there's anything more important for me to say than stop the genocide in Gaza.
I couldn't agree more.
It's so weird. I asked a question today on LinkedIn, which was, you know, let me ask you, LinkedIn audience, why are you witnessing a genocide and not doing anything about it? Is it because you're worried about the backlash? Which is exactly what they want you to be worried about. You know, they want you to accuse you of anti-Semitism because Christ,
you don't want people to die.
Yeah, it's okay to have genocide, but you can't be anti-Semitic. You know, it's absolutely crazy. Or they want you to don't care, which is the point that we said earlier. Or they simply don't believe they can change anything. But that's what a lot of people do, which is such a shame.
This is why, I mean, what you're talking about here now is so sensitive, and there'll be people that will get very upset about this conversation.
I don't really give a fuck, to be honest.
What? I'm with you.
All I care about is the children being killed every day. I'm not really concerned about hurting anyone's feelings. I just want to stop the killing, and it really upsets me.
Well, again, we're on the same page, because my approach to this, instead of trying to get him, I don't get involved in this conversation. I tell you why.
Actually, wait there a minute. I'm listening now.
Yeah, go on. What's going to happen?
Ideal moment. Right. Okay. Go on, keep talking, Simon.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I'd rather bring it back to like having... Oh, Coca-Cola Gaza.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So just so you can see this, fuck Coca-Cola, I'm having Gaza Cola.
Right, okay.
Who doesn't support genocide.
Right, who's behind that? That's a good idea.
Well, hopefully it's not Coca-Cola, that's all I know.
Right, okay, hopefully double check it probably is Coca-Cola. They're very clever on their marketing. But you see, so by the way, I feel your passion about this and I feel your pain as well.
I'm actually hurt. I'm really hurt. Every day, I'm sick of it. I just want it to stop. That's all. I want to stop kids being shot in the head every day, which is what a doctor said. I want people to stop pretending it's not genocide. I want people to stop pretending it's not about Netanyahu. I want people to stop pretending that America isn't supporting a genocidal nation. You know, I just want our prime minister to stand up for human rights. Yeah, I'm fucking upset. Yeah, and a lot of people are.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
I am...
Here's to Gaza.
Yeah, go ahead. I think that's well said.
Anyway, look, before I get told to move on from this, which I don't want to move on because nothing's really more important than that, but I do want to now...
By the way, I don't want to move on. I want to say something about this.
Go on.
So, I think...
And I'm not scared of saying anything.
No.
I've got to that point. I'm like Gary Lineker.
I'm also not scared.
Hero.
I'm not scared of saying anything about it. I think what happens in my head, and you know, we can debate this, but in my head, it's like what politicians do, the left and the right, is they galvanize their base and then they use it to fight against the person who doesn't believe in what they believe in. Half the time, those people don't believe in what they're fighting for, right? So Brexit is a good example. Again, without going over the old ground, Boris Johnson did not really believe in Brexit.
Well, he wrote two letters.
But exactly. We all know he didn't really believe in it.
He actually thought we were all stupid. He really did.
Yeah,
he was only interested in getting to power. He knew Brexit was a disaster.
So what I'm getting to, though, which I think is maybe the way forward, it's a bit long-term. This is a long-term idea. I think this all starts in the education system. Because if I've had such a lucky experience, I've lived in China, okay? So, and I went there when I wasn't rich. I went there when I was fairly poor still. And I realized everything we're talking about now, like when I was on my way to China, I remember telling people I'm moving to Hong Kong. People, communist country. They're taking over Hong Kong, you know? Communists.
Most uncommunist country ever.
But you see, like, I think if you live in a country like England and you don't leave England, you don't know. And so you don't know what you don't know. And so my feeling is everyone should have the experience of other cultures.
Totally.
And if they understood, I think everyone should go live in Gaza. And everyone should go and experience these things.
I'm not brave enough.
But what I'm saying is like, it's all to do with the education system because the education system doesn't actually teach you what life's about. And I think, again, like I say time and time again, my mission, in part, is to help everyone get rich. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's to help everyone get rich. And people go, no, that's not possible. Not everyone can be rich. We need a hierarchy. No, we don't.
But I know you don't 100% believe that, okay? Because in your own book, you don't really define richness as money. So
Thank you.
Let's just qualify that.
Yeah, so money...
You define richness.
Money is one element of rich.
That's why I wanted to go back to the gardener versus the banker. Because actually my gardener's got a fucking great life.
Well, I was going to say...
Because he was out there this morning and he was...
But that's what he wants to do.
He had the fruit and veg and he's done it for 70 or 60 years. Keith is 75. He's taken care of the house for a long while. And he's a lovely guy. And he's richer than me.
Right.
Because he does what he loves.
I think this is, well, you hit the nail on the head because I think a rich life is what people should seek. But I think everyone can have a rich life. Partly you do need money to live in this world because, you know, again, without getting too crazy about how bad things have got, but basic human needs, what are they? Food, very expensive. Accommodation, very expensive. Water, used to be free out of a well, very expensive. Electricity, this brilliant invention that's supposed to free humanity, now a trap for a lot of people. They have no choice but to have electricity. It's not an option. And there's monopolistic companies controlling it that are owned by French conglomerates.
It's crazy.
So what the hell's happening? Basic human needs are so expensive. How can people survive? How can people live? Well, now we're talking about subjects that people
It's a system.
But people don't even have time to debate these things or go and experience another country and understand how bad it is.
People get ostracized the minute they debate it. Like Gary Lineker would dare say something, and then the next minute he's getting sacked or let go by the BBC, and good on him for standing by his morals and just, going. It's just, it's absolutely ridiculous.
You said at the very beginning of this part of the conversation, you said we're having to get involved in politics. And I think the truth is, I think all entrepreneurs need to get involved in politics right now.
Well,
and the ones that are leaving, the ones that have gone and moved to Dubai as a tax dodge, they need to come back. This country helped them get where they are today. They need to help fix these problems.
You know what? It's like sheep. If I see another LinkedIn post from from somebody going, "Oh, the country is broken," Labour have been in government for a blip, less than a year, just over a year. Okay, yes, they brought in a few taxes that weren't great. Guess why? Because they were balancing the books, because there's 150 billion black hole from Brexit and GDP and 40 billion of a tax black hole. And yes, they needed to raise a few unpopular taxes. But still, Britain is a fantastic country for entrepreneurships. We've got a fantastic financial sector. We've got great entrepreneurs in this country. And do you know what? I'd rather set up a company here than in many other companies. It's still a fantastic place to be based. Let's just, I can tell I'm never going to get to my questions, right? But let's talk about some of your passions, okay? So let's go back to schools, okay? I'm going to say what I think, if you don't mind. And I know you've got some really strong thoughts on this, okay? So a few thoughts is, I think we had in the 1970s, we had this utopian dream that we were going to create a fair and equal education system. But as a result, I actually think we've created the most unjust and unfair education system. Because when I grew up, if you were smart, you went to grammar schools, and I know that you were pigeonholed earlier, and I know it wasn't perfect, but you know what? We created some fantastic leaders through that system that had, a lot of the Labour leaders that came through actually went through the grammar school system, and a lot of people had opportunities that they wouldn't have. But we got rid of it in large parts of the countries. There's a few places that we've hung on to, and we placed it with a comprehensive school system. And what I feel is then we've created a society of the haves and have-nots, that literally those people that wanted to have a good education now had to pay for it. Whereas when I grew up, you didn't have to pay for it. Only the fit kids went to private school because they couldn't get into the grammar schools. Okay. And we used to have polytechnics, and we used to have, technical colleges, X, Y, and Z. We encouraged those skills. But what we've now created is a system that if you want a good education system, unfortunately, you have to pay for it. And, I'm sad to say that I went to the largest comprehensive school. Well, I went to a grammar school up to 16 and had my accident. I went to the largest comprehensive school in London, Crown Woods. I didn't have to pay for university. My kids went through private education because there wasn't that option in terms of a good school where we lived. We had to pay for their education and pay for their university. And I just feel we've created this society between the have and have not. And that's what they wanted. What's your thoughts?
It's a complicated situation. I think the way I always view it is the universe. I always follow the money when I'm trying to figure out if a conspiracy theory is true or not.
Yeah.
So who's
Let's
making...
not use words conspiracy theory,
well,
because that's basically a word that's created that every time somebody's got a good argument, like JFK was assassinated by the CIA, they call it conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Well, it's probably better to call it the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes, most of the time. But when I'm trying to figure out, why is the education system the way it is today? Why is it? And was it 12 people sitting in the room that wanted to make everyone a slave and work for them? And work for JP Morgan and work for these big institutions and make money out of humans? What was it that? And there's a part of me that says maybe, but in reality, I think it's much more simple than that. I think basically university is a business, and they did a very good job of basically making it now in the UK, as an example. You make money from the people who then pay for the education. So you're making money from there for life. because often that's the first experience kids have with money is debt now through the university debt.
50,000.
They don't even understand it. I say you're in £60,000 worth of debt, and they don't even understand what that means. They don't understand compound. They don't understand how it works, but they just know they've got it, and somehow it's normal. They've normalized it. And on the other side, the whole university infrastructure is a business. So they're the richest institutions and some of the richest institutions in the world. I think they've overtaken church as the most powerful, money
Church
base.
Is a declining business.
Well, but the universities are so powerful.
Yeah.
So, and they've made it so that now even the businesses, like Tesla, couldn't get a job at Tesla, right? He left university early, Tesla, and invented a new form of electricity. Some say he invented free electricity, and that's why he was killed. Right? So I think, again, if you follow the money, makes sense. Yeah. So much money in selling people electricity. Last thing you want to do is make it free, right?
Exactly.
So I think the school system to me is just a really clever business. So I look at it that way, and then I can breathe a little bit more and say, okay, right, how do you compete against a business like that? Well, I think, and I'm trying to do this, by the way, you provide value to people. And from my particular example, it's like you provide an education to people that gives them the tools they need for life. Because in university, they are training you to work for someone else. That's exactly, and if you go into university, even their advertising of universities, 72% of students get a job in X, right? So they basically pitch that university is a way to get a job. There's hardly any universities, although it's become a bit more popular these days, but are teaching you to start a business. Even the entrepreneurship courses, which I have been to and seen how they teach you that entrepreneurship is dangerous, risky. You shouldn't do it. The odds are against you. They throw this 90% of businesses fail in the first year. Literally in the first week of nearly every single business school, it tells you how likely your business is to fail. It's not teaching you business. It's teaching you to fear business.
I totally agree with you. And you know what I really admire, Simon, is that you're questioning the system and you're just saying, just think twice. And you know what? I totally agree, because I'll be frank with you, when I went to university, which was 1985 to 1988, Sussex University, I didn't have to pay for my education. I actually got given a grant. I actually figured it out in real-time money. Today's money.
Well, you were doing a business on the side while you were at university, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Nightclubs, I think you said.
I was doing nightclubs, and then afterwards I started Box
Which I think that's, I've got my...
But that was following my dream.
Well, this is what I mean. Back to that. I mean, again, like university to me, if everybody who went to university did a side hustle on the side, I'd start to like university a bit more. Yeah.
But let's get back to your point about university, though, which is the point I'm trying to make, and I'm totally agreeing with it. When I went, only 5% of my age went to university, largely because there was a lot of polytechnics that weren't called universities. But the first thing they did is they changed polytechnics to universities to give it the same name. Okay. Now, the problem that you've got is you've got so many kids coming out of university now. It's not 5%, it's over 50%. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's a large number. It's a much larger number by a factor of 10, I would say. Okay. And they're not getting jobs.
Yeah. I was looking at
and actually, I said to my daughter, who unfortunately was going to university during COVID, so she didn't have great experience. I said, Tess, you're going to have to go and do a master's because you need to stand out. And she was lucky. She needed to get that job. I've got my nephew who's extremely bright, okay, went to Exeter University. He's come back. He's taken a year out. He's come back. He's applied to, 20 odd jobs, 30 odd jobs, and had one interview. This is crazy.
So again, this is the lie that universities pitch you. That's their business model. Come to university, you'll get a good job. And the problem is the stats in the past, people were the exact numbers I'm not going to get right, but the general vibe, and you'll get this in the comments of this podcast as well. People were like, well, if you look at the stats, university graduates get 30% more salary, more income than people that don't go to university. Now, the problem with these stats is it's self-fulfilling. If you have someone smart who goes to university, there's a likelihood they would have made 30% extra anyway. So the whole university thing is literally a whole business. And if we just accept it as a business. And so what is the business? The business of getting kids into debt. Now, the clever thing they've done is if you ask young people what they want to do, they are so blinded by the university system. They go, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to study this thing. I'm not sure I really want to.
Think twice.
They're not thinking twice. And the problem is society doesn't let them think twice now either. Well, you're not going to go to university. First of all, it's sold as a 4-year party. right? That's
Yeah.
part of it. So 60 grand for a 4-year party, partly.
Well,
Get out of
sometimes
parents' house.
with 4 hours of education a week.
Right. Get out of the family home, which is
Yeah.
natural for a young person. I was the same. You know, my mum kicked me out, but,
Yeah.
you know, I kind of enjoy being free. I can make my own times. I can get up when I want, go to bed when I want. I can eat what I want. You know, who doesn't want that freedom,
You're
that
selling
age,
this.
right? But you're selling a debt to those kids. That they could have that freedom without that debt. And I look at Germany, for example, and no country is perfect, but they really respect craft type businesses.
Totally.
And I think
using your hands.
Yeah,
Plumber,
making
electrician,
things. Baker, making things with
Candlestick
wood,
maker.
like all of it. Like, and I think in England we've all been brainwashed into thinking that somehow having a degree gives you value. And I think having knowledge of something you love to do and then doing it every day is value. And
Totally.
that's why, you know, I actually wrote the book for not someone as experienced as you in business. I think the end of the book,
But I found it really, really insightful.
which really makes me happy. But I wrote it for that 18-year-old kid who thinks university doesn't feel right. What are my other choices? And if you're 18 years old, how old's your son?
21.
21. And
He went to School of Art.
Okay,
So he didn't go to university.
Well, that's
and I love the fact he did that.
Yeah, that's great. But he's lucky to have you, because a lot of parents wouldn't necessarily encourage that, because they'd be like, "How are you going to make money out of arts?" But what I'm getting to is, like, 21 years old, he can live at home still. He can take a risk and start a business. When you're young, everyone says, "Oh, you're young, you've got time." I think the opposite. I think by the time I got to about 30, responsibilities started to kick in. You know, elderly relatives you have to look after. You know, stuff. You're being scared. Maybe you've got a baby on the way.
Yeah.
You know, it's not impossible, but it gets harder. So I think when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, these are the times, like, to take a risk. If you
Totally.
you should go and see the world if you can, and, you know, you should go and start something and take a risk, because if it fails and you're 23, no big deal.
I often say this when I'm speaking to other entrepreneurs. I said, the greatest time to set up a business is when you're young, because you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
When I became the worst entrepreneur was when I was in my mid-30s and I had 2 young children.
Right. You're
and they
making
were in my
decisions
bed. And for the first time in my life, Simon, I was scared, because before that I came from nothing.
Yeah.
So losing everything didn't worry me.
Exactly.
I just came from nothing, so I was not worried about. And you get caught in that trap, don't you? That trap of believing that, I can't risk it because I'll lose it. And I know that's a topic that's really, you know, that you're keen to talk about, and I want to get back to that. But, you know, I want to talk again about the university system, because even I fell for it just recently. I decided that, and after, you know, 55 years of in business, I had this London Business School called, actually they're just based here. That's why I bought this place. A liquidity event in South London. I made more money than I could spend. Okay. And I said, right, okay, I want to go back to London Business School, and I'm going to do their top program, which is the Sloan program. I went back, it was, you know, a lot of money, and I only lasted a couple of weeks. And the reason why was I started questioning the lecturers, and they were like affronted that I'd questioned. But one, I was older than them, and two, I felt I had more experience, and I felt that they were teaching me about things that they not put into practice themselves. Well, I'd be out in industry. So one of my big things to talk about is emotional intelligence. It's the gut feel, why I want to do this, right? And it's almost business school wants to sort of take that out of you, because they want to pretend to you that we can teach you this. Yeah. You can't teach gut feel and emotional intelligence. That's what separates us all.
What's interesting about what you're saying, I would just add, you can actually turn on your gut instinct, though. So it's there.
You've got to trust it.
You know,
it's always there.
If school could get away with it, it would take credit for my son learning to walk.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's all instinctively in us.
Yeah.
And so, but the school system seems to portray itself as the only way people learn is by being taught something. No, we learn by doing something. So gut instinct, for example, is taught psychologically by, when you were young, you would ask a question of your parents, And the ones that got a gut instinct were told by the parents, what do you think? So you'd say, Mummy, like my son does this to me. You say, Daddy, how did the M25 get built? And I say, well, how do you think it got built?
That's a good question.
And he'd be like, oh, okay.
Badly.
Badly, yeah. But my point is, like, gut instinct comes from like you analysing yourself, you researching, you thinking, you're feeling. And I think that is teachable. You need to turn it on in you. You have to let it flourish. But in the school system, they make everything about logic because, they have to justify their fees.
Yeah.
So this is all like reciprocal. They have to show you, we're going to teach you something. They can't, in their mind, they can't teach gut instinct.
No.
So they teach you the logic of numbers and business and processes. If every entrepreneur I know that's been successful, if you followed the numbers, you would never have done it.
No.
There's no way on earth.
You've got to dare to dream.
You've got to dare to dream. And I think
think differently.
Yeah. And I think you've got to see, you've got to look at what you like to do and you've got to learn to get good at it and do it.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. And school doesn't teach you that. I think that's why I'm actually pretty excited about this time in history. I'm glad to be alive right now because I see AI is scary, but I also see it as the answer to education. Yeah. Because what should happen, my son is home educated. And it's a fascinating thing. I love home educating.
Wow.
It's something I wish everyone understood better.
Why did you decide to do that? Just the one-on-one care? Or...
But you see, it's not one-on-one care. It's one-to-many care.
Yeah.
So I have a community of people that homeschool. We do it as a tribe. Yeah. So again, people think homeschooling is me sitting at home with my son teaching him. It's not that.
Yeah.
See, I think the existing school system is, if I said to you, I'm going to devise a school system, this is it. Kids of the same age, 30 to 35 of them, are going to sit in the same room every day and they're going to be taught by one teacher who has one particular philosophy and one particular thing they want to teach you. And you have to sit there every single day for a year with the same people listening to the same teacher teaching you stuff you may or may not want to learn. But like, that's archaic. Why would you? The right way to educate, and let's just be blue sky about it, the right way to educate is, right, you tell me what you like to learn, the stuff that you're interested in, what your hobbies are. Let's help you be better at the things you naturally like doing. Let's encourage learning, not tell you what to do. Again, like the whole analogy of like teaching a kid to walk. You need to walk. It's part of life. But if I start telling you how to walk, it's not as good as you learn. You need to fall over and hit your head. You need to sit. You need to do it. You need to actually physically do it. And that's pretty much all learning. Humans learn best when they're doing it.
And there's been some famous examples, haven't they? I think Joachim Phoenix and River Phoenix had alternative sort of learning as well. For some reason, I'm thinking Keanu Reeves might have as well.
You got to do
but
child
just thinking
learning
outside the box, really, and doing things differently. And you've got to challenge the system.
Yeah. But the thing is, when people listen to this, what I always worry about when we say think differently is that people might think they can't think differently. You can. You are unique. You are an individually unique person. Your DNA tells you that. You are totally unique. So how does it make any sense that someone else tells you how to live, how to learn, how to operate, and how to think? But we're scared to let people free think. In fact, paranoia would tell you that imagine this is China's, thing about people don't understand. If everyone free thinks, you could have anarchy. So do you want anarchy? No. So how do you control a population to do what they're told? Well, you educate them all in the same way. This is how you behave. This is good behavior. This is bad behavior. This is what you should do and what you shouldn't do.
Because I don't know, and it definitely came across in your book, but were you the kid that in class was really annoying? You used to ask a load of questions.
I was a bit scared to be noticed.
Sad to hear that.
I didn't want to be bullied.
Yeah.
And I wasn't part. There was a
I know
group.
what that's like.
There was a group of kids that were bullying, and there was a group of kids that got bullied. I somehow stood in the middle.
I got bullied by. There was race riots at my school between the black and white kids because we were on the border of Lewisham and the NF walked through it. And because I was half Malaysian, half Irish, I got beaten up by both of them.
Oh wow, that's bad.
And I never forget once there was this English teacher in class, and it's amazing, isn't it, when you have this one moment? And he was a great teacher, and I've got to remember his name, Max something, and he was my form teacher as well. And I asked a question, and everyone went, "Oh, Roger, not another question." And he made everyone in class get up and clap me for asking a question.
Oh, I love that.
And I really love that.
Isn't it how one person in your life can make such a difference?
Yeah, and he did make a difference to me, and it was. I think
asking questions is so important.
It really is.
I built a platform where you can go ask questions. That's all. Bank, the platform I built, you go ask questions and people can answer questions. It's just you should be able to ask for help. Yeah. Basically, like no one gets anywhere without asking for help. I didn't know half the things I know about business. The only reason I learned them is I asked people that knew.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't go to business school.
Well, it was like the Jane Eyre, you know. It was like
Exactly.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I'm not going to read it. I'm going to ask people.
Right.
But there's some reoccurring themes that you talk in your book, and one of them was about let's re-examine the education system, and I totally agree with you. Just to be absolutely frank with you, as somebody that's been to a decent school, been to university, been to business school, and been an entrepreneur for 35 years, do you know what? I'm not sure that helped me a lot. Actually, a lot of it is real common sense with being an entrepreneur. And in many ways, some of the best learnings I ever did were on the job or listening. I love listening to podcasts, especially from other founders. So I listened to this, I think it's How I Built This by I think Guy Raz.
Podcast,
Really, really good. And I love podcasts. And sometimes there's even these Udemy courses where you pay like 20 quid and you learn about digital marketing. Or Steve Jobs, for instance, he didn't go to university, or he dropped out, and he just started dropping into lessons and learning things from there, you know. So I love that idea about questioning the system and just don't just follow everyone. And I think that's a great theme that you had there. Let's move on now to entrepreneurship. So we talked about one of the main themes of the book was, look, question, you know, just following, you know, travel the path less traveled. Okay. You know, don't just follow the system. So I get that. And then another thing is you believe that anyone that wants to be an entrepreneur, it's their dream to be an entrepreneur, can be an entrepreneur. Do you really believe that? Do you believe that entrepreneurship is for everyone? Or are you just saying, look, follow your dreams, and if it works out, that's great, but yeah, it's not for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, the clickbait that annoys everybody is everyone can be an entrepreneur.
By the way, I'd like to say you're not annoying. Can I just say
no,
that?
but some people
I actually think you need the clickbait sometimes.
Some people get really annoyed with me saying this. The amount, if I went on LinkedIn now and I did a post, everyone should be an entrepreneur. Who
gets annoyed because they
other entrepreneurs?
Well, I don't want because I'm meant to be special. Am I?
No, but yes.
No, I'm not.
But I'm just telling you,
I got sacked first 3 jobs.
A lot of entrepreneurs have got caught up in they've drunk their own Kool-Aid, right? So what happens is you become an entrepreneur, and it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy,
and it's not necessarily that hard. It's certainly not that intellectual.
What I'm getting to is, like, you know, people. If I did the post now, and I might do it just to show you what I mean. I've done it a few times. I do it when I'm feeling like just antagonizing my fellow entrepreneurs. I will say everyone should become an entrepreneur. And the amount
wants to be?
Well, here's the comments that I get. If everyone becomes an entrepreneur, who's going to do the shit jobs? Right? Who's gonna pick up the rubbish and all that sort of stuff? Right?
Like glass half empty attitude.
Well, my point is, like, the only reason today that robots aren't filling up the stores at Tesco's is because it's cheaper for humans to do it. So if we allow people to get rich and lift out of that, then Tesco's will have no choice but to invest in robots, take their massive profits, and invest in robots and free humans. And so right now, I think the problem is not that I actually think there's not enough entrepreneurs. The other argument is, oh, Simon, you know, there's too many entrepreneurs. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, no, actually, everyone wants to go to university and get a job.
Yeah,
that's actually what's happening. And here's the problem:
if you look at America,
university was out of date anyway. But now with ChatGPT and AI, honestly, like the jobs, even if you're going to become a doctor, you're going today to become a doctor. 8 years from now, you want to come out and be a doctor, I predict there's a high chance you'll be working for an AI company that is a GP practice.
Well, 80% of them, it's going to be like, okay, what's wrong with me? Well, speak to AI, give me the symptoms, and I'll spout out.
Yeah, again, people can't comprehend this because I've had this argument with people. People are like, oh, I always want to speak to a human. I'm like, you know, MRIs used to be done by a human. An MRI machine used to be done by a human. A human would try to feel your body and see if they could figure out what was wrong with you. No one's asking for a human to do that. They want the MRI machine to do it because the MRI machine is 99% accurate.
Yeah.
So everyone's happy for them to stick themselves in a machine and get an MRI. No one's asking, oh, no, I want a human to do it. Because when a machine becomes correct and a human is often wrong, you want the machine. And let's just accept it. But of course, like, I mean, I got a delivery this morning for my food. A Ocado driver, he's going to lose his job. But no one's telling him. You know why no one's telling him? Because they want him to deliver the food right up until the robots replace him. So there's actually a really weird incentive to not tell people the truth. And no, but I told him this morning, you need to start learning entrepreneurship. What's your dream is what I asked him, because he says, oh, I'd love to do dog walking business. I said, get into that as soon as you can. Don't wait until they cut you off, fire you, and replace you with a machine. Build it up now. It will take a few years to build anything up. I'm not saying it's easy, but at least you're in control of your day and they can't just fire you.
I think people sometimes misunderstand your message. I think before I listened to your book, I sort of, was maybe skeptical about, he's going to make 10 million entrepreneurs. Everyone can be an entrepreneur. That's the clickbait. But actually, I think there's fundamentally a much stronger message about what you're saying, which is find your purpose in life, follow your dreams. Because every day that you're following your dreams, it's not going to be work. Exactly. And work is so important. It's such a large part of your life. If you're not enjoying what you're doing,
100%.
It's what's the point?
Totally.
It isn't just about collecting money. It's about, what is your purpose? My purpose at the moment, as somebody, I guess, that doesn't need to work, is I want to give back to entrepreneurs. Because I think, as Peter Crouch once famously said, if he wasn't a footballer, he'd be a virgin. Well, I'd be a virgin if I wasn't an entrepreneur. So I want to give back to the entrepreneurial community because it gave me belief in myself. And I really believe in the British entrepreneurial spirit. I think we're an incredible country. And at the same time, my daughter said to me, although she denies it, she did say it to me, who's my biggest critic. She said, Dad, you made loads of money, but what else have you done? And she's right.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Because for 35 years, I just had my head down because I came from nothing. I was just focused on making money. And now I actually want to have on my gravestone, here's Roger, he left the world a little bit better than he found it. What the ancient Greeks used to say. And that's my purpose. And I'm here today. You know what? I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving this. I'm loving chatting to somebody that's like-minded, that's got real spirit about them, that is trying to challenge the norm and do things different. But what I really think you're saying is, while you're young, follow your dreams.
Yep.
Don't grow old and say, should have, could have, would have. It's just do it. You've got nothing to lose. Because I don't know if you know about Jack Dorsey, but the Twitter founder, he practices stoicism. And I think the reason why, and you mentioned this book, that people are scared of losing everything, okay? And actually, that's why your book really appealed to me. Because actually, I face that crossroad at the moment, which is that the unfortunate thing about getting something is that suddenly you're scared of losing something.
Yeah.
And I've got to shake that monkey off my back because what Jack Dorsey practices is he buys 7 white t-shirts, or used to, 1 pair of jeans, 1 pair of trainers, 7 underpants, 7 socks, and a jacket or a jumper, whatever he needs, every 3 months. And he doesn't own any properties, and he has rice and water twice a week. Why? It's purely selfish because he realizes that he's got nothing to lose. He's still enjoying life. He's still actually, what have I got to lose when I live off rice and water twice a week? And that is what we've just indoctrinated ourselves.
Well, in fairness, the marketing companies and the marketing gurus have got us all thinking this same crap, that buying something's going to make us happy. And the thing is, it temporarily does. Like, I bought a Porsche. I drove it off the Mayfair Court showroom. And I was like, wow, I can't believe it. I've gone from homeless, like owning my own car. I bought it cash, literally paid cash. They all thought I was like muling the money in somehow. I had that moment. I drove around in it. First week, I loved it. And then slowly I realized I started putting the key down on the table. You start like, I own this. Yeah, just bought it cash. Yeah. It suddenly becomes, the thing owns you. Now, when people are listening, there's a lot of people that will be listening to this podcast that don't have money. And I want them to all experience having money, because I know when they do, they're going to have this moment. And they're like, actually, my purpose isn't money.
And do you know what they're going to say to you? Oh, it's all right for you to say that. And do you know what? I had the exact same experience that, it wasn't my dream, but we bought this big country house and it is absolutely beautiful. But it was my wife's dream. And actually, from my perspective, I was thinking quite tax efficient. you
Right.
know, free of capital gain.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we're going to buy something, we might as well buy this. But you know what? I have a nap every day. I love a nap, right? And I have a nap in a little shepherd's hut. Do you know why I do that? Because it's my rice and water. Because I'm in that shepherd's hut and I'm as happy as pigs in shit. Because I don't need anything else. I've got my bed, my little shepherd's hut. I've got my little bath. I've got my little cooker. I've got my fire, log burning fire. And I say to myself, if I lose all of that that's out there, you know, swimming pool, the tennis courts, the land, the cars, the thing, I'm still really happy here.
I get you. I think that when people are listening to this, the thing I would say to people listening is this. You don't realize how much of a competitive advantage you've got if you've got no money.
Oh, so much. It's a power.
Yeah, and I know, you know, I've got money today. I actually, when I got money, I had the hardest 6-8 months of my life trying to figure out, now I don't need money. What am I here for? What is the point? What's my purpose in life? If you had to go out and fight for your family, you had to go fight for money. You had to go. There was something in that. You know, I haven't got money. I needed to go and earn it. There's something in that. Taking your want and making it a need. It was very easy. When I was 15 and homeless, I needed to. No one was going to help me. No one was coming to save me. I had to do it. It was actually quite empowering. Right, I'm taking control. I have agency over my life. I'm taking control. And I think that, like you, I had nothing to lose. You know, there was no one laughing at me because there was no one around me. There was no one judging me because there was no one that knew me before judging me. I just did the gardens. I just went and made it all happen.
Because it's the ego.
It's so liberating.
It is.
And by the way, I kind of have this now, you know, I kind of have this situation now where, like, you know, I'm a bit of a guru online and I do know a lot about business.
You do.
But I'm willing to risk it all. I'll go bust. It's okay. I don't care. You know, like, even people say all the time, they say to me, when I first sold my company and I had all this money drop into my bank account, I had so many financial advisors. I sold a PwC.
Yeah,
right?
Fluid.
They're basically
Digital
financial
agency.
advisors themselves.
Yeah.
So they basically, all these people come at me with their financial advice.
I had it.
Buy houses, rent
Private
it out,
banks.
all these things. And they're basically, the whole thing is like, oh, you know, you want to leave money for your kids and you want to leave legacy. You know, I don't want to leave money for my son. I think,
That'd be the worst thing ever.
Exactly. I don't want him to suffer. You know, I want.
You do want him to suffer.
Well,
though,
I was going to
don't
say,
you?
I think from
you
pain
do want
comes
him
purpose.
to suffer.
From pain comes purpose.
Thank
but,
you.
But I want him to have. I want him to have all the benefits of education, access to knowledge, see the world, see how the world works, not just be isolated to England. He needs to see how the whole world works.
Totally.
I will provide that. I've taken him to 16 countries in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I want him to see the whole world.
How old is he?
He's 7. Yeah.
All right, you may be overdoing it a bit,
No,
Simon.
maybe, but I'm, you know,
little bit.
but I won't be leaving him any money.
Maybe just a little bit.
No, I don't think he'll need any of it. Because if I've done my job right, he'll be able to make it himself. 2025 to me was this utopian place where people would be helped and life would be good for nearly everybody.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked if I look what's happened in the last 25 years. You know, accommodation is more expensive than it ever has been ever. People just wanting somewhere safe to sleep is almost like a luxury now.
Democracy's not working.
Well, I think what's
Social
happened.
media is corrupting
What's
it.
happened is we've gone on, you know, one extreme to the other. I think I'm not a socialist, but I think if we can't.
But
afford
what's wrong with being a socialist, by the way?
Well,
because they use it like a negative
no, but
term.
I know I can see the
It's
comments.
hilarious.
I can hear people instantly. Oh, you're a socialist. No,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think,
a socialist. I'm proud to be a socialist.
Well,
That's called about caring about society.
fair.
I do.
Actually, a lot of people don't know what a socialist is.
They don't
So
understand
the
it.
definition of a socialist, you're completely right, but a lot of people don't understand it. But what I'm getting to is, like, if I say I would actually, if I was in charge of the government here, anybody where we can't afford to pay them more, let's say the police or nurses, we have to provide them with reasonable accommodation costs.
And pay them a fair wage.
Pay them a fair wage is always an interesting thing, because if it's the NHS, it's like there's a cost restraint, right? This is the argument. So pay them a fair wage, absolutely, but fair wage links to like living costs. So if accommodation is really ridiculous, I have this case at the moment. There's 3 nurses I know. They can't afford to pay their rent, right? They can't afford it. They're going. 1 in 3 nurses in this country right now are going to food stamps. Exactly. Or
And that should be part of affordable housing with a
let's
property
build
industry.
housing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be expensive. Again, back to an entrepreneur answer. Literally, I was speaking to an entrepreneur yesterday who's developed container houses. right? These are pretty
I know a
nice.
thing or two about container.
Yeah, you do. Exactly. Yeah, of course you do.
Not the best thing to build from, by the way.
But my point is that, we shouldn't have, of all the money and resources and brain power, we really got a housing crisis.
We should have modular housing.
It doesn't make any sense. So then I start to think that it's all artificially kept that way so that the rich stay rich.
Look, unfortunately, is every time you come up with a sensible argument, people will go, oh, conspiracy theory, X, Y, Z. So let's give an example of that. Let's talk about not such a difficult example, okay? Let's talk about energy. You mentioned it before, electricity, okay? I recently met the ex-CEO of Rolls-Royce small micro reactors, okay? We've had small micro reactors, they're nuclear reactors, by the way, going around our oceans for the past 50 years in nuclear subs, and no one said diddly squat because it's all right in there. But the minute they start talking about creating clean energy, right, which will modular microreactors, which will solve all of our energy needs in Britain, okay, which are 99.99999% safe because they're not like the big old Chernobyls of this world. There's more computing power on my watch, a lot more than in Chernobyl, that literally you can turn on and off. But no, are we building nuclear power stations, small microreactors, something that we lead the world in? No, we're not. No, recently they said go back to coal. In Germany they said go back to coal. But it's ridiculous because then we become reliant on the fossil fuel industry. That's what creates the Middle East. That's what creates instability there. You're basically deliberately creating instability to stop OPEC, or what was OPEC, controlling oil prices. And we should just get off oil, and things like that. But again, it's about not doing a sensible thing. We could talk all day, but actually this is the first time I'm going to go back to my question. So I've got to get back on script apparently. So I'm going to ask you the quick fire questions. Okay. They are, what's the biggest mistake you've made in business? They're meant to be quick fire.
Oh, so hot. I've made so many mistakes.
Well, just name one.
I spent money before I had it. So I believed I had a contract signed for a comic book business. I thought I had a movie deal, and I didn't have the movie deal. I thought I did, but I didn't really understand that I didn't. And I spent the money as if I did, and that business failed because of it. So that's one of many failure lessons.
Your favorite book or podcast?
I do like to Your First Million, the podcast you mentioned earlier. I think that's good.
How I Built This.
Sorry,
it's really good.
Yeah, The First Million is as well.
Is it The First Million?
That's another podcast. I think, by the way, dyslexic brain. I forget the names of these shows, but I like podcasts about entrepreneurship. I also like learning from these, how people did it, so I don't have survival bias, and I can learn how other people have done it. It's good. Have
you get a chance? Listen to the Yvonne Chouinard one. And Ben Cohen from Ben and Jerry's.
Okay, yeah.
Really good on that.
I'll have a listen, yeah.
You mentioned earlier, you're not afraid of losing everything. If you lost everything tomorrow, what would you do?
So I think right now for young people, the biggest opportunity is social media. And I know it's been a bit vilified, but I can post a video now and it can get millions of views. I don't need any followers.
Yeah.
So I would use social media to make money, and I would use social media to build something. Because you can't afford a house, but you can get on social media and do a post. Everyone's got a phone. And I would be able to build a big business within a year on social media if I had nothing today.
I've got a confession to make. My team said to me, right, you need to be more like Simon Squibb.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what that means, but yeah.
They said, he's blowing up. You need to do more what he does.
Yeah, you totally. I'm not even sure what that means.
No, but look, I'm just...
Come and join me. I need more people in the army.
I would love to. I know you do some things at Box Park, and it's been wonderful to host you. If you ever need some guest speakers in terms of a speaker that's built things from the ground up, from a market store to selling it, I'd love to chat just to show everyone actually you don't need to be.
But can I just say something on the social media side? What I think is really important, and I think your team's actually right. You need to you see on social media there is not enough people that have actually done it. come from that kind of base of being told at school you're an idiot or whatever, and then having made it. There was a lot of bullshit on social media. There were very few actual entrepreneurs that actually, that's why I've done quite well, because I've actually done it. I've come from nothing. I've built a business.
You can tell it in that book.
I've actually done it.
You can tell it in that book.
And I think you have that. And I think we need more people in the arena like that. And so I would love, maybe I can give you, we got Doorbell Dreams. Have you seen it? Where people pitch their dreams to the doorbell. And you could react to some of those. Because again, I want people who have actually done it to be giving people the advice, not these fake people that haven't done it.
It would be a privilege to help you out in, with helping young entrepreneurs. It's something that I feel passionate about. The difference with me is I think you're a bit more thicker skinned than me. And
I've grown that. Yeah. Skin. I hate people hating me. I have a lot of people that hate me, and I find it really hard.
Trust me, you got a lot of people that really like you. So that you're always going to have the haters, and that's life. Lovers and haters. That's just, unfortunately, that's the way. But
that's why thick skin comes over that. I'm sure in business you had a lot of people attack you. You just build up.
I was a bit of a pleaser, and I sort of, to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a softie, really. So I'm not on all. I only do LinkedIn, and the only reason I'm on LinkedIn is because if somebody says something stupid, I just block them. So I quite like that.
Building up the thick skin is a skill, just like anything else. I'm the same, by the way. I hate people hating me. I'm being bullied online at the moment. I really hate it.
It takes you to be bullied. I don't think that you can be bullied because you're on the right path.
Well, I think it's never nice when people pick on you and people say horrible things to you. They say horrible things to your family about you. It's not nice.
But your purpose of trying to encourage more young entrepreneurship in this country is a brilliant purpose.
Thank you.
I really admire you for what you're doing. And you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the talk.
Thank you.
You've directly helped people out. Yes, there's some stunts that you put in there where you put some money in a book or whatever it is. But you know what? You need that to get the traffic, because in the end, it's about the product, the traffic, and converting it into profitable sales. And the product that you've got is that book and your thoughts, because they're really good.
Thank you so much.
Put it this way, I'm sending it on to a couple of people.
Respect from my peers means a lot to me.
Well,
people like you have actually gone out and done it in the world. That means a lot to me. So
it means a lot to me, because recently I've really troubled with the idea, there's a lot of money going out with a VC. I mean, do I really need to be risking everything with this? And actually your book gave me a bit of a kick up the arse, which I needed. And I really found it useful. So I want to thank you for that.
That means a lot.
What one business idea do you wish you had?
One business idea I wish I had?
Yeah, somebody that had the idea and you wished you had it.
I just think the whole TikTok thing's pretty interesting. I know no one likes it. You could buy that. You could buy that. I just think generally, like, social media is genius. It's another total free humanity tool that right now is being vilified. But I think to me, social media is like...
It can be genius and can not be.
Well, this is what I mean. Like anything. It's like AI is going to be either destroy humanity or free humanity. Yeah. I think it's got to be in the hands of good people. And if it's in the hands of good people, it's totally liberating. Like, people can start a business today and they can compete with Walmart instantly online today.
But can they?
Yeah, they can.
I'm not so sure.
You have systems where you can promote a product. You don't have to have a warehouse. That's all taken care of by Amazons. And you can literally launch a business on social media today. No cost.
I've got two different points to make there. Because it is, firstly, Albert Einstein once famously said, near to his deathbed, what's the most important lesson that you've ever learned in life? And he said, and everyone expected him to say,
don't cheat on your wife.
Did he cheat on his wife?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's sad to hear.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Mahatma Gandhi slept with his niece.
Oh, that one I don't believe.
Well, she did sleep in the bed.
Yeah. That one really upset me when someone told me that. I literally just watched the Gandhi film.
True.
I was like, what an inspiration. He starved himself so that two places didn't fight with each other.
Exactly.
And then someone told me that awful story, which I was like, I just don't want to believe that.
Well, they didn't know whether there was anything sexual, but she did sleep in the bed. They knew that.
But Einstein's famous for saying his biggest regret was cheating on his wife. But go on.
Really?
Yeah.
But his famous saying was, do we live, the most important lesson in life is, do we live in a hostile or friendly world? And it goes back to what you said earlier. You get in life lovers or haters, unfortunately. And you can't spend your whole life worried about the haters.
I call haters undecided voters. So that if you actually know who they
haters.
Yeah, I don't know. I believe in humanity. I believe that haters can become lovers.
Right,
They just
Netanyahu.
Well, I don't. I mean, I
Putin.
don't know about individuals like that. Maybe they've gone too far.
Trump.
But I've noticed with people that, and I've had this. I've had people that hate me, and then I spend a bit of time understanding why they hate me and what their problems are, and slowly they can become nice people. They just had a bad day or a bad life or a bad week or
They're
a bad
just
experience.
jealous of you.
Yeah, that happens too. But I genuinely think humanity's quite good. It just needs a bit of love sometimes. You know, you'll probably find if you go back at the history of anybody that's really evil, they had some moment. I think this is totally inappropriate now, probably.
Don't worry about being inappropriate.
I'm not. If I say this the wrong way, I'm going to get into a lot of
Yeah.
trouble. But Hitler was told when he was painting, when he was like 13, 14 years old, he was told, apparently, the urban legend is, he was told by his teacher he was a crap painter.
Yes, he was.
So he
Well, he
stopped
couldn't get
painting.
into art school, could he?
So my point is that if that teacher or that whoever had been kind to him that day and said, you know what, he's got real potential, this painting thing.
Yeah.
Like, it really is quite interesting.
Why not have the Second World War?
You're a bit different. There's like, maybe, you know, like he felt, and you can't boil it down to that one moment, but I reckon kindness will always win in the end. And I kind of want to promote that.
Well, the minute you become a hater, you've lost out really in life. Going back to just earlier, what you were talking about, which is the social media side of things, okay? And it's just something I like your thoughts upon. I'm moving away from the quickfire question, but I like your thoughts on it, which is I've got a real problem with people like Google and Amazon, and I'll tell you why, okay? Because, look, let's take someone like Amazon, okay? I think they're deliberately trying to monopolize the industries, but actually there is an industry for physical retail, for bricks and mortar retail. But what you've got is Jeff Bezos going, no, we are going to ruin bricks and mortar retail, and to the point that they don't survive. And when they don't survive, we're going to have a complete monopoly on it all, and we're going to control it all. Because in the end, if you ask yourself on the three main reasons that you run, when you run a consumer brand, there's three core elements. This is all I believe. First, it's the product. Okay, if you haven't got great product, you won't exist. Well, until you can touch and feel product on your computer screen, you're never going to replace an in-store experience. When I buy this t-shirt, I try it on, I fit it on, I check the cloth, I check how it fits. You'll never get that with a store. And then the next thing is traffic. And I agree with you, historically, yes, online could have created traffic, but now you can't create cost-efficient traffic. And they've conned you because basically they're now charging so much, or effectively paying a traffic tax to Google or to Amazon, because literally they own the traffic. And unless you pay them something, you're not going to get on there. And then finally, it's conversion. So I believe that you can create now more cost-effective traffic by having bricks and mortar store. And finally, conversion. You can actually convert. I think online you typically convert 1 in 100 customers, maybe 2 in 100 customers. In store, it's 1 in 10, you know, or 2 in 10. You convert 10 times better. I think the problem, and it's a reoccurring theme about what we spoke about today, which is that it's about short-termism. That we're not thinking long-term down the road. It's everything that we spoke about.
Retail, I mean, in general, you look at the companies doing this well. Apple.
Yeah.
I love going to the Apple store.
Yeah.
I just love looking.
Because they believe in physical retail.
Yeah, but then I think the interesting thing is you need both to win now.
Yeah.
You see, the thing that Amazon have, you know, they bought B&Q. Right, so they're buying up the physical now.
Yeah, well, they obviously bought Whole Food.
Yeah, they bought Whole Foods, they bought B&Q. So they know that's also part of it. The problem is that these companies, high streets included, the high street landlords got greedy, and they kept wanting high rent, so the shops ended up empty or being sweet shops, money laundering businesses. And so one side you've got the greedy landlords, and
you've got an archaic business rate system.
Exactly, you got councils that are so dependent on these things that, you know, they're not
because it's their only form of income. In many cases,
and they're not thinking long term.
Well, and they're
inefficiently run. So that's a whole different point. But then I think also, like, none of them have got to grips with online.
Yeah.
And so you can't have one without the other. I was in 2000, I was pitching to businesses. I pitched to Woolworths that they should do an online store. They laughed at me. Right? Now, people listening to this podcast might not even know what Woolworths is. You know, it was one of the most successful retail stores in the UK. I went there as a kid.
Like C&A.
I went there pretty much every day as a kid. The pick a mix,
Toys R Us.
Get music. I was always
Gap.
These are big. And so they laughed at me when I said go online. And 2001, 2002. I think that the thing is now, the thing I'm really excited about, and the reason I'm, your point and my point actually can collide quite nicely. The most exciting opportunity for anybody young today is that you can start an online business and eventually turn it into a physical business.
Or physical and turn it online. Doesn't really matter.
Exactly. The physical businesses, and you've helped with this, you've softened this for some people, but physical businesses are very expensive to get off the ground. Even now, these rates are still high. Councils haven't adjusted. Landlords won't rent it out because they don't want the value of the property to drop. Better they don't rent it out. So they're empty. Even shops are empty. So there's still a problem in that space. And so, I think that you can start a business online. This is my ambition. I'm launching an online drinks brand called Dream Brew.
Yeah.
And all the profits from it will go to fund people's dreams. And as I roll out in supermarkets,
Good idea.
yeah, as I roll it out in TikTok Shop and I roll it out in supermarkets, I will then start opening up physical stores and I will beat Starbucks. I will beat them.
I actually think you'll find out that by dealing with the grocers directly, because I know this because some of my businesses that we invested started online and actually we're doing more business in grocers and there's much better margins than that. The problem that I've got is that the largest employer in the UK is retail and hospitality, and those industries are getting destroyed because of the short-termism of our government. So by that, we need to completely create a level playing field when it comes to business rates. Okay. So
what would you do? Get rid of business rates?
I just have at the moment, I think that, we've got to just literally look at the entire business rate system and say it's not fit for purpose because it was invented in the Victorian era when you didn't have online shopping. So effectively, we just need a level playing field. So whatever Amazon's paying, they need to pay. So if you've got an out of town warehouse, they're taxed in terms of business rates, the same as whether you've got a department store on the high
street. Would that
street.
be like a VAT a version?
It doesn't matter. It really all
every
that matters.
item sold you pay as
well, that's VAT. But I would just have an equal business rate system. I'd definitely reevaluate business rates so there's a level playing field. And the other thing that really annoys me is the fact that Amazon and Meta and Google don't pay their fair share of corporation tax.
That gets me really wound
which is
up.
disgraceful.
Yes, that's why
we're going on about non-dom. Well, the ultimate non-dom is these companies.
This tax the rich thing is the wrong focus.
Yeah, let's actually tax them.
Starbucks. This is why I want to take Starbucks out.
Yeah.
This is why I want to build a competitor to Starbucks, because Starbucks don't pay any tax in the UK.
Yeah.
That's not right. And they do it by their licensing
They say
company.
they pay VAT. Right. Which everyone has to pay
on
VAT.
£80 million worth of profit they made in the UK.
It's disgusting.
So it's disgusting, and that's where those companies should not allow it to be trade. This whole offshore, they basically very clever.
Yeah.
They don't break the law. None of these companies are actually breaking the law.
They do technically, I believe.
Well, Starbucks is charging a license fee to the UK company for the Starbucks
which they
logo.
adjust the license according to the profit.
Yeah. But again, if you're a smart government, you just say, no, this is bullshit. You can look at it and see this is bullshit. You don't need to charge for your logo in this country. If you do, you can't operate in Starbucks in the UK then.
It's as simple as this. There should be whatever you're selling. It doesn't matter if you've invoiced it from Ireland. The reality is the sale happened here.
The problem is
tax.
The problem with that is the cost of goods. Okay, so Starbucks' argument, and I'm not on their side, right? I'm just being devil's advocate for a second. Starbucks' argument, let's say, for example, I think 24% of Starbucks costs that go out from the UK for taking away their profit is cost of the coffee beans.
Yeah.
So their argument is that that's the cost of goods. But see, so it's not profit. Because Starbucks, I'm not saying they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's true. I mean, you have to have an auditor to go find out what the actual cost of those coffee beans are.
You have to have an auditor, but actually as part of your gross profits and eventually your net profits, which is what you pay tax on, of course the coffee beans is included. But what we're talking about is charging royalty figures to artificially reduce the net profit of the company or whatever mechanism that they use. That is fundamentally wrong. Right. It's been do you know what?
This podcast is never getting sponsored by Starbucks. And I need
or Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Coca-Cola's out.
Or
Good,
any
fuck
Donald
these
Trump
people.
company.
Don't care. Fuck them.
But I like to finish off by asking you sincerely, what is your dream?
Well, I have several elements to my dream. The main focus is I want the education system to be updated. I don't want 4-year-old kids, as my kid was asked, what will you be when you grow up? I want that to be dumped as a basic philosophy of what you ask kids. It doesn't matter what they're going to be. We don't even know what anyone's going to be because of AI. The question we need to ask in schools is, what problem would you like to solve? We need to open up minds, not trap them into a particular job role or a particular thing we want them to think about at 4 years old. We want people to have open minds and open opportunities and be able to follow their dreams and figure out what that might be for them. Okay. I want the education system updated. Along that, I would like to create a new type of bank that gives people microfunding and support for their dreams so that people aren't caught in fight or flight. They can actually perhaps build something without worrying about paying the rent for a little while, just give people a bit of breathing room. And I'd like to encourage successful entrepreneurs like you to keep giving back and keep finding ways to help the next generation, because if we don't, I'm worried for my kids. I'm worried for our kids. I'm worried for my son. What's going to happen?
Simon, I genuinely say this. It's not many. I haven't had many times where I've sat down with somebody and been truly inspired, and I've absolutely been inspired today. Keep doing what you're doing.
Likewise.
It's absolutely brilliant. Encouraging more people to be entrepreneurs, challenging the system, and just be you, Simon.
Thank you so much.
It's really working, and I can see why you've got a #1 best-selling book. And I hope all the viewers out there will either listen to it or buy it. And I'm not just saying it. I actually think it's a great read.
That's so kind of you.
Thank you for joining us today, Simon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
I hope we can do a lot more collaborations together. I appreciate how similar pages we're on at this stage in our lives.
Thank you.
Thanks.